What's up guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're talking about the good boy Pickle from Baki. If you're new here and enjoy Baki content, make sure to subscribe, and this will most likely be my main channel for the next 2 weeks as I'm still processing the strikes on my main channel. But that's it, I hope you enjoy. So for Pickle and his arc was probably one of the most enjoyable and unique arcs so far that we've had in the whole Baki manga series. It was unique, it came after some not so good arcs and it was very enjoyable, had a lot of great fights throughout, and we got our character Pickle to stay around after that. So after his arc, he appeared in the Yujiro vs Baki battle where he was pretty much knocked around by Baki and pretty much threatened by Baki so Baki could continue fighting his dad, and Pickle was, a good boy and just sat down and watched. And then later on in Baki Adao, Baki Do, whatever you call it, he has a fight with Musashi Miyamoto, so that's cool as well. I'm not going to be going into too much detail on that part, I'm still working on my review for that arc, so stay tuned for that in the coming weeks. Pickle is around 190 million years old. As we know, he was alive during the dinosaur era where he was fighting T-Rexes and various other dinosaurs, to show his chadness. He's one of the most chad characters in the whole series and probably top 5, if not, I'll ugly say top 5 strongest in the whole series from what I've seen. He's, I think, the tallest character I've seen. Jack may be getting taller this one, but he's a total of like 8 feet tall, which is a total of 245 centimeters, which is absolutely insane. And as we know, he doesn't have a fighting style. He really just uses his brute force and overwhelming power to defeat his opponent. And my favorite aspect about Pickle is how he changed. So when we first introduced him, he was an animalistic crazy dude that just didn't know what was going on, as you expect from like a caveman that's being brought back to life 190 million years later. Didn't know what was going on. And then as he went through all these battles, as all these people challenged him to test their power against him, he started to enjoy fighting and become like the other Baki characters, a fighter for the sake of fighting. And that's why we love Baki, because we want to watch the fight. And seeing Pickle relate to that and want to be part of that, and how we see him later on, especially wanting to be part of the Yujiro vs Baki fight, because he wants to fight, him being happy there and then realizing this isn't a fight for him to be involved was great to see. His way of living is also very unique as well. He doesn't speak and he's pretty much an animal with some above average intelligence, with him being able to realize what to do and what not to do at certain times, but he's just pretty much considered an animal, or could be considered an animal. But his honor is what gives him his human element, and this honor comes about where he doesn't want to eat anyone unless he fights them and defeats them. So throughout his many battles against Retsuda, he wouldn't eat him until he had his battle against Retsuda, and then against Katsumi, he defeated Katsumi, was going to eat him, but returned his arm back to him after they had a good battle. This was the start of Pickle's change, and then his battle against Jack, where we really learned his weaknesses and what he's scared of. Prior to this, we considered him not to be scared of anything. He was introduced with all the characters, getting around where he was kept trying to fight him. We have him, going one-on-one against Yujiro in a strength test, where we don't see who the winner was just, them pushing each other's arms together and no winner there, which you can assume that Yujiro only won that using technique, not just sheer power alone. Back in the dinosaur era, he would fight T-Rexes and other various dinosaurs, and once defeating them, he would eat. That's how he lived, was fighting dinosaurs. So while waking up 190 million years later, it's pretty much the same thing, wanting to fight people to eat them, and no other way he'll be able to eat someone, or would eat someone, unless he fights them and earns, the respect of being able to eat them. And then a show where he has, extremely tough fight, he cries while eating his opponents, so he does have very exact human emotions when it comes to basic levels of that. And his one weakness, he wasn't showing any fear except for stuff that resembles a wasp to him. He was stung by a wasp in his past, but it didn't really affect him until he had eaten the wasp and realized that the poison was still able to damage him. So ever since then, he's had an immense fear of wasps. And with his fight against Jack Hanma, which is, in my opinion, one of the top 5 fights in the whole Baki series, was a great fight. Jack Hanma is coming back, and the first fight was just so insane. Jack got pretty much bodied, and Jack pretty much put everything into his final attack, which him pretending to be knocked out, or was knocked out, putting all his force in his 2 fingers. For anyone that gets close to him, to just go smash and destroy their brain with that. And if Pickle didn't start to get elucidations or get the idea that Jack is kind of like a wasp, going a bit crazy, Pickle is, but he got the sense that if he goes near Jack, the same thing that will happen to him that happened to him millions of years ago, against that wasp, so he stood back and someone else, walked past, and then Jack's two hand went smash. And if Pickle would have gone to see or finish or eat anything about Jack, he would have died right and then there. So he has like extreme sense, which links into his ultimate fear, which is the wasp. And then his fight against Musashi, which ended in a similar way with him getting hallucinations that Musashi is a wasp as well. From what I've seen in the story, he has defeated the rights of Kairetsu, Katsumi Orochi, Jack Hanma, and Baki Hanma, even though some people argue that Baki Hanma actually won the fight. Based on what I saw and read in the manga, I think Baki Hanma lost and Pickle defeated him. And then he had later battles against Musashi where he actually probably may have lost, may have won. He got a lot of injuries during that fight, but he only ran away due to him getting the idea that he's a wasp. And then he had a somewhat battle, not real battle, a strength test against Yujo where you could say he lost or was a draw, and then a strength test against our boy Hanayama where they had pretty much a pushing test on each other. It wasn't really serious Pickle whatsoever, it was just messing around kinda, but Hanayama was able to win the pushing contest with him being able to push Pickle back. But while saying that, Pickle wasn't serious whatsoever during that moment. Now I'll talk about his abilities. So Pickle has one of the highly and most developed muscles in the whole series, with him being able to tank bullets with his stomach just with ease, bounce off him. Nothing. His time alive, he was fighting 1v1ing T-Rexes, choking them out, where learned some of his abilities. He absolutely destroyed a Siberian tiger after he starved for like several days, came in, destroyed it whatsoever. He's not feared whatsoever by Siberian tigers. Nothing can phase him, as we know. He was fighting fucking T-Rexes in his own life. Like, what are these Siberian tigers gonna threat him? He was defeated like top tier opponents, and all these opponents he pretty much defeated with his sheer brute strength alone, and that's all he really used. He weighs almost 200 kilos and this uses that to his advantage and doesn't have real technique. He bites, he has like a leaning forward stance, he can tackle. He has used some slaps and some types of chokes, but nothing that can resemble real martial arts. It's his big boy T-Rex muscles. When they were like examining his body and talking about his body, he was like resembled to the dinosaurs, showing that he has many dinosaur aspects. And his other aspect, which is his strongest asset, is his ability to just tank everything. His defense, he just tanks all his attacks, with him not really going on most of the fights, just waiting for his opponent to go and attack him first. He tanks like all the characters that fought him ultimate moves before he even really does anything. And then this gets up, he goes like knocks Baki fly in the air, they both fall down from the sky. Pickle just tanks everything, tanks everyone's attacks where they're like using their limbs to get destroyed. Pickle's just was standing and then going in, he was able to tank sword slashes. And he also has a pretty good capacity to learn, especially during fights, able to learn and overcome many of his opponent's attacks. But while saying that, it's still at a primitive manner and he doesn't really incorporate any tactics whatsoever into his battles. It's relying on his brute force and monstrous size to win most and all his battles. If Pickle's able to learn some type of martial arts and bring tactics into his fighting style, I could argue him being the strongest in the whole series. But with his lack of technique and just relying on his sheer strength and primitive nature, that puts him down to just the top 5 in my opinion. Let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments. Do you think Pickle is top 5 or even top 3 in the whole series? I hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, and that's it guys. Peace.